I used to believe that being invisible was safer. When nobody expects anything from you, they also don't notice when you're tired, broke, or quietly falling apart. I was good at that kind of invisibility. 31 years old, waiting tables at a forgettable diner just outside Spokane, clocking in, clocking out, staying small. And then, one afternoon, a little girl sat in my section and my quiet life exploded in ways I never saw coming. It started so stupidly simple that it almost feels embarrassing now. A kid who never talked. A booth by the wall. A mug of hot chocolate she couldn't afford. That's it. No prophecy, no warning music, just me thinking I was doing one decent thing in an otherwise mediocre week. I didn't know I was stepping into the middle of something violent, expensive, and very intentional. The diner was called Pine Ridge Grill, the kind of place truckers stopped at because the coffee was strong and the pie was forgiving. I'd been there 4 years long enough that the cracked vinyl booths felt familiar long enough that people like my manager Rick didn't bother hiding how replaceable I was. You mess up, he'd say I've got 10 more like you. I believed him. People like me always do. She came in every afternoon at 4:10 on the dot. Same oversized yellow hoodie sleeves past her fingers, hair pulled into a sloppy knot like she'd done it herself. She looked about 10, maybe younger. She'd slide into the far booth eyes down, shoulders hunched like she was trying to fold herself smaller. The first day, I asked if she was waiting for someone. She shook her head. The second day, I brought her water and a menu. She pushed the menu back. By the third day, I just brought hot chocolate without asking. She drank it like it was the first warm thing she'd had in a while. Slow, careful, like she didn't trust it to stay. I covered the check with my tips and told myself it was temporary. Just a few days. You know how that goes. One afternoon, while I was wiping down the counter, I noticed she wasn't drinking. She was drawing. Not kid stuff either. Clean lines. Sharp angles. She'd sketched the diner, but darker, heavier, like the walls were closing in. Outside the windows, she'd drawn these tall shapes, all black, no faces. When I asked who they were, her hand froze. She ripped the page out, folded it twice, and tucked it into her pocket like she'd shown me too much. That should have been my warning. 2 days later, a man in a leather jacket came in, ordered coffee, didn't touch it. He watched the door, watched the windows, watched her. I felt it before I understood it, that cold prickle between your shoulders when something's wrong. When he left, he didn't drive away. He waited. And 10 minutes later, the girl slipped out the back door. That night, I barely slept. I kept seeing her drawing in my head. Those faceless shapes. The next afternoon, she came back limping slightly, a fresh bruise darkening her wrist. I didn't ask permission. I slid into the booth across from her, lowered my voice, told her my name was Claire. She hesitated, then whispered hers. Lily. Just that. One word. Like it cost her something. I told her she didn't have to be scared in here. She looked at me like she wanted to believe that and hated herself for it. She drew again fast this time. A symbol. A black fox inside a circle. She pointed at it, then pointed at the street. Then she wrote 3 words. He is coming. I offered to help her. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I said it anyway. I told her I could drive her somewhere safe after my shift. A shelter. A friend's place. Anywhere. She stared at the table for a long time, then nodded once. That's when the parking lot filled with black SUVs. They didn't roll in casual. They stopped hard. Doors opened. Men in suits stepped out like they owned the ground. The diner went quiet in that way that only happens when people know they should be scared but don't know why yet. Then he walked in, tall, gray at the temples, calm like nothing in the world ever surprised him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He said he was looking for his daughter. He said her name was Eleanor. He held up a photo. Lily, but dressed differently, smiling, polished, expensive. She shrank back into the booth. I stood up before I thought about it. My knees were shaking, but my mouth worked just fine. She's not going anywhere, I said. The man looked at me like he'd just noticed a chair speaking. Step aside, he said. Patient, dangerous. She screamed. Not loud, just enough. She wrapped her arms around me and buried her face in my apron like it was the only solid thing left. That's when his expression cracked. Not anger. Fear. The window shattered before anyone could explain anything. Real gunfire, not movie stuff. The sound ripped through the diner like tearing fabric. I threw myself over Lily and felt glass rain down my back. Men were shouting. Tables flipped. Someone was crying. The man in the suit was suddenly barking orders like a soldier. He dragged us toward the kitchen, shoved a gun into my hand, told me not to drop it. I locked us in the walk-in freezer. I don't remember deciding to shoot. I remember screaming and pulling the trigger and the man outside the door falling away. Inside the freezer, Lily told me that the man wasn't her father. She said doctors told her he'd killed her real one, that he lied, that he was sick. When the door burst open again, smoke pouring in, the man carried us out like the building itself was trying to kill us. We escaped in my beat-up sedan under gunfire. By the time we hit the highway, the news was already calling me a kidnapper. We hid in a concrete bunker outside the city. That's when I realized the real enemy had been next to us the whole time. The bodyguard. Lily drew the fox on his neck. I overheard the call. Orders to kill me. To deliver her. The fight was ugly and desperate and too close. I jammed a gun, fixed it by slamming it on the floor like an old toaster. I shot him in the leg. The man finished it. We escaped through tunnels, swam a freezing river, stole a truck to make it to court before morning. When Lily pointed at her uncle and told the truth, the room went silent. Evidence followed. Arrests, 20 years. 6 months later, I didn't work at Pine Ridge Grill anymore. I owned a small cafe downtown. Lily came in after school and argued with me about whipped cream. Her father drank coffee like a normal man, not a general at war. My life was louder now, harder, braver. I still think about how easy it would have been to ignore her, to tell myself it wasn't my problem. So, here's my question for you. When someone small and scared sits quietly in the corner, do you look away or do you stand up even when your hands are shaking? Tell me what you think. I want to hear it.